Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm on Skincation, and I'm with Maddie from Glow On Studios in Fair Oaks, California. She has had her own business for 2 years. She has hit 6 figures in 6 months. She just hired her first employee, and she's a Platinum Lyra partner. So exciting. So much has changed since I last saw you.
I know, it's crazy. When I saw you last, you were pregnant with your first baby girl.
Yes.
Second baby. And your Instagram has like taken off and blown up. Your podcasts are one of my favorite things to watch.
Aw, yeah, and you just moved locations. That's so exciting. So
I did,
you
yeah.
expanded, right?
I
You
did.
hired your first employee. So exciting.
I know, it's crazy. I was honestly really nervous to make that jump and make that expansion, but it's been amazing. It's fallen into the place perfectly.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So would you say, like, as far as hiring your first, employee, you hit 6 figures within the first 6 months? Would you even say that you would imagine that you would be at where you are at today?
No, honestly, I had no idea. When I first became an esthetician, it wasn't even my plan. We talked about this last time, to open a business, but I think things lined up how they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I honestly got really lucky, and I put a lot of hard work in, and I'm very happy with where I'm at.
Yeah. How was the hiring process? Was it nerve-wracking, exciting?
Like a very good combination of both.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, so nerve-wracking. Like, Glow On is my baby, and imagining it in someone else's hands is really scary. But it was also really fun. It was so fun to get to know, like, new esties, and a bunch of the girls that I interviewed were, like, kind of brand new or had been in the industry for under a little over a year. And so it was fun to talk to people. I don't know if you've spent a lot of time with new esties recently, but they have so much passion. And
Completely agree. I think that when you are hiring, it's such a difficult process, and there are so many new estheticians out there. And as a new esthetician, I feel you can understand where you don't know what direction you want to go. So I think that's the hardest part, is putting your trust in somebody of, do you want to grow with me, right?
Yeah.
That's really hard for sure. So as far as the hiring process goes, how long did it take you to hire somebody? Like, how did you put your trust into someone?
Yeah, so I did just expand about a year ago. I've been in this space now, and like, as soon as I got this space, it has 3 rooms, 2 of which I thought would be great treatment rooms. So immediately I was like, I can hire an employee. And of course, things just take much longer than you expect.
Yeah.
And so my original plan was like to hire around July, which I had moved up here in, I think, beginning of June. And it didn't end up happening until January of this year. So like over 6 months later. But yeah, I put some, feelers out there. I interviewed some people without advertising it. And then I was kind of like, okay, I think I'm really ready now. And so I started interviewing, and from the point that I like posted that I was hiring to the point that I actually hired, it was about a month process.
Wow. So it happened fairly quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, enough time to where you can decide if it was a good fit or not, and the people that you're interviewing. How many people would you say that you interviewed throughout the whole process?
I think probably like close to 8.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good number.
Yeah.
Yeah. And making a decision, I think, is the hardest part as a business owner. So when you were going through the interview process, what would you say? What were you looking for? What was your experiences in the past? What did you want to see when you were hiring an esthetician? What were you looking for?
Yeah, honestly, I cared more about their personality and like their passion and, of course, their work drive too. But me personally, and I think a lot of other estheticians in this industry have experienced this, like, I've had a not so great boss. And my biggest fear going into this was being a not so great boss.
Yeah.
And so I just really wanted someone that would like be open and honest and have great communication. And that's exactly what my employee is now. Like, she can really tell me like how she's feeling honestly, and it's so helpful for like me, my business, and my mental health. Like, being able to have someone that's honest with me and tells me exactly where they're at and how they're feeling. I think also going into being an employer, especially in this industry, and having the mindset, this could be just a stepping stone for them.
Yeah.
This job is not what this job is to me. Like, this is my business. This is my whole life. It shouldn't be that for my employee. And it could just be a place where she starts off, or it could be a place where she decides maybe she doesn't want to be an esthetician. Maybe she doesn't want to do skincare.
Yes. I think you definitely have to go into it knowing that this might not be long term for somebody. I think that's something that I struggled with, was I wanted somebody to be there from the beginning to the end, and that's just not realistic, to be honest, for a lot of people. So I think that's a really cool perspective, that you are going into it knowing that this might not be long term for somebody. Do you want to eventually hire out other estheticians, or do you want to just kind of keep it as it, like, where do you see Glow On going?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hire more estheticians. I personally love being my employee's mentor and, training her, molding her, teaching her, things that I wasn't taught, and getting her foot in the door, because she is a rather new esty. It's still only been about a year for her. So I would love to, do this again with another employee, and expand Glow On. And I don't know if you know who CJ Aesthetics is.
Oh, yeah. She's so sweet. Yes. I follow her on Instagram.
Yeah. She's got a cute Instagram. But honestly, she's like my inspiration. She has, I don't know, like 7 estheticians.
Wow.
She has a ton of employees. And obviously social media is different, but she just like looks like she's killing the game. I'm sure she's so stressed out with that many employees. But she just seems like she's got it down. She is a great teacher. I met her in person.
Wow.
And met her girls, and they all seem really happy. So I would love to have something like that.
No, that's awesome. I think it's cool to have somebody that you look up to in the industry, and that you can kind of see yourself falling into. That kind of reminds me of, things look so glamorous on social media, right? We always want to be like somebody. So let's jump into kind of like the nitty gritty of, what social media actually looks like and what it actually is. And just the process of what it is as a solo esthetician. We all have goals, we all have things that we want to reach, but what does it actually look like to get there, right? So I kind of want to just start with, clearly did you start with Lyra? What did you start with as a solo esthetician? Yeah,
so I think the way I did it was pretty smart, not to toot my own horn, but I didn't start off as a solo esthetician. I worked under a couple different women who had their own spas, and so I got to try out like a couple different skincare lines. I started as a receptionist, and then I was a part-time esty, and then I was a full-time esty. And so actually my first like real licensed esthetician job, the woman there carried Lyra Clinical. So that was my introduction to Lyra, which was over 5 years ago at this point.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been with the line for a while, and I got to dip my toe in the pool with that Lyra, because she didn't carry all of the products. And then I went full-time somewhere that carried all of the Lyra products, and really got to know the nitty-gritty of the line and how exactly to use it in the treatment room.
Yeah, no, totally. Sounds like you had a lot of experience, like figuring out what worked best for you and experiencing the line, things that you got to figure out, before you went solo, it sounds like, which is really, I think it's a really cool opportunity. So with that being said, would you suggest working for somebody before you go solo?
Absolutely.
Would you, like, what is the biggest takeaway that you would say that you've gotten from being, working for somebody else?
Yeah. I absolutely think everyone should start off working for someone else, especially like seeing like the way they run things, like taking what you liked from them and what you didn't maybe like from them, and applying it to your own business, and then also getting to experience, different skincare lines. I tell all new esties this, like, hands-on learning is way more valuable than anything that you learn in esthetician school. Unfortunately, I really think esthetician school is like
to get a certificate. Totally. I think that a lot of estheticians go into this industry seeing social media, and I think that's where I want to give some perspective on what it's actually like going solo as an esthetician. So you don't just like get your license and you go solo and you're a successful esthetician, right? Like there's so much more that goes into it. And so with that being said, what would you suggest for like a solo esthetician starting off with? Would you suggest that they, invest in a hydrofacial machine? Would you say that they, start with just the basics? What what has your biggest takeaway been going solo?
Yeah. I'm no, like, don't invest in a hydrofacial machine like your first month.
Yeah.
Even though I did have like a built up clientele, you know, I was booked solid. I think one of the biggest things that I learned personally was, you know, you can be a successful esthetician at a spa, but if you leave an established place and start your own new business, you kind of have to prove to your previous clients, like, hey, I'm still just as talented as I was here at this place. I can still help you. I can still do what I was doing there. I'm just in a different location, and it's a new business, and maybe it's not as nice or, you know, not as glamorous or not as big, but it's still a great service that you're receiving. And so I think it takes time to prove that.
How long, when did you, so you opened up your own business. How soon did you invest in a hydrofacial machine?
My goal was to get it within a year of opening, and I was able to do it within like 6 to 8 months.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, safe to say that within 6 months, you reached 6 figures. That's awesome, right? Like, I mean, you reached your goal way quicker than you could have ever imagined. And
I did, yeah.
So, you know, for me personally, going solo, I didn't have a clientele before. I just started fresh. So, I think it's really cool to see different perspectives of, you know, somebody that, I mean, you're qualified, you're amazing, and you took that step to like start your own business. That's amazing, you know? So, that perspective versus, you know, I mean, I think that it's cool to kind of see different perspectives. So for me, I had no clientele. Like, I invested in the hydrofacial within 6 months, but I was so like faith-based, you know? So
you're so brave.
No, and like the consumables that come with hydrofacial, like so that monthly payment. I mean, I didn't have the luxury of just buying it in cash. That's my experience.
No. I made payments. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, like, I mean, I'm just kind of circling it back to myself, is I think that there's two sides. Is like mine was faith-based and yours was, you know, you had a base to start off with. And I did too, to a sense, because I had a clientele before I invested in my machine, but I wasn't like fully booked out. My practice wasn't, you know? So it's, I think it's awesome that you were able to like achieve that way sooner than you even imagined. So, I
think my way is the safe way. Your way is the brave way. And I admire
it's like logistically
so much.
Versus, you know, having a dream.
No, I love it. Yeah. I mean, like mine wasn't even a dream. Mine was like, I feel like I can do this. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of a dream, but like.
No, you could. I mean, you were at that point, clearly. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And with that being said, clearly, you know, having a hydrofacial, that's important to us. Yeah. What would you say is like your biggest, you know, achievement, something that you're really proud that you invested versus something that you've kind of regretted in your practice?
That's kind of tough.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no, you're good. I mean, I do think the hydrofacial was a really good investment. Like,
right? The clientele that you got with it?
Yeah, the clientele, my clients were already familiar with the service, and so bringing it in, I was like, I know that people are going to like this. And yeah, like further education too, taking a dermaplaning course and adding that to my services. Honestly, like the more education, the better. Like you're never going to regret education. Purchases that I maybe regret, like little things like, you know, cheap linens.
Yes. Or spa wraps. Yes. Things like that. No, totally.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that something I've learned is investing in quality, you know? Something that I would say that I've even invested in that I regret is not necessarily like machine or products, because I feel like of course everyone makes mistakes, but I feel like I've made, you know, mistakes along the way. I would say I've made marketing mistakes. I've invested in trying to hire somebody and throwing $1,000 down the drain. Yeah. So I think it's really important to whatever you're investing in, making sure that it's valuable and that it's going to help your business grow. Of course, we all make mistakes along the way, but for me, it was like definitely marketing. Yeah. And trying different things. It's trial and error. So
it is, which like you have to do.
Exactly.
So it is kind of like, do you regret that because you know, are here now and like you're killing it? So
no, totally. Yeah. What would you say is your biggest, like, how do you get clients? Like, what would be the biggest, you know, way that you get your clients?
Yeah, I would say definitely probably Instagram.
Okay. That's awesome.
Social media.
Yeah. So, I mean, how long did it really take for you for people to start reaching out to you? Would you say, was it mostly like when you started going out on your own, or was it like, is that majority? Do you also do Google, things like that?
Yeah, I pretty much just do Instagram. And honestly, I grew my Instagram a decent amount when I was just an employee.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had more time.
Yeah.
and more energy
Totally.
to put into social media. And I really, really cared about my social media. It was so personal to me. It was like a little like diary almost.
Yes.
And then when I went solo, actually like what like really grew my following was like just a little video tour of my solo room. It was just like this tiny little box, which we were in before. And yeah, that just like took off and gained me like, I think over 5,000 followers.
Oh my gosh.
Like, a week.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that's really cool because it shows just being personable on Instagram and showing the realness of it. You don't need a big fancy room, a big storefront to start. I think that's something that a lot of people feel that they have to get to right away, right? So that's awesome that you were able to grow your following like that. Like that's
what type of content you think works best to get new clients? What do you if you had to give somebody a recommendation on?
So I feel like the number one thing that brings in clients for me personally, and I think that this has changed a lot for other estheticians, but for me personally, it's before and afters.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I don't know why people think that before and afters are dead. I think that they're so alive. Do you see your analytics?
Yes.
On before and afters? It's
my
crazy.
God.
I think I've reached 600,000 people from before and after. So it shows a lot of what Instagram can actually do for your business. I mean, I think there is a part of Instagram where you know, you could get 1 million views and it could do nothing for you. So I think it's really important to have intentionality in your posts so that when somebody lands on your page of a before and after, they'll book with you. I think that says a lot that your before and afters clearly get you clients. So I think it's really important of what you're putting into Instagram of what you're going to get, right?
Yeah. I think like reels bring in like a lot of views too, which I think is good. People are going to your page, but like before and afters are why people are going to book.
Exactly. I mean, nothing says it's like a portfolio, right? For your page. It's so important. No, that's awesome. And then just a little bit more into business. I know that me and you were kind of going back on Instagram about taxes, right? Tax season sucks, right? For a lot of estheticians. I know that we briefly kind of wanted to talk about the importance. I don't think a lot of estheticians know about this, right?
No. Yeah.
But a little secret would be in your taxes, make sure you have an S corp, right?
Yes.
I really don't know what that means. Like,
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I'm
not into taxes at all, but I like really thought it would be important mentioning this because find an accountant and your tax person.
Don't do your own taxes.
And it's tax season. This is the only reason why I'm bringing this up. But make sure you have an S corp because it'll save you so much in taxes.
So much money.
So find a professional that knows about that, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think that's a lot of, that was so fun to just kind of talk about the nitty gritty of Instagram and business. So what is your biggest tip to somebody trying to grow their Instagram?
This might be unpopular, but my number one tip is just to post.
Yes.
I think that people overthink so much. And honestly, like my best performing posts are just like, oh yeah, let me just like post this.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to post. You have to stay like relevant and keep the interactions coming and also like comment, support other SDs. Like that's really beneficial too.
Yeah.
But just post it.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. My best performing posts have been me posting a picture of my baby saying,
well, your baby's cute.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks to her. But yeah, no, I think it's so true. Your best performing reels are the ones that you didn't think about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I'll like post something and not expect anything of it. And then I'm like, oh,
you're like, this is going to do so bad, but it does so great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so true. Just post.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Just post.
What would be yours?
Mine would actually be drafting reels. I think that's something that has helped me a lot to grow my Instagram, is not to put so much pressure every day that I have to post, but to pre-make content and just put it out and be intentional about it. So that would be mine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. It was so much fun, right?
So much fun. I had a blast.
Yes, but it was such an honor to have Maddie from Glow On Studios. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and keep out for more.